Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Day 22 of the Donald Trump-MAGA government shutdown, the second longest shutdown in American history. Texas Congressman Al Green will join us on the show to talk about Democrats continue to hammer Republicans over the issue of health care. North Carolina, the Republican-controlled legislature, what did they do? They passed a new racist gerrymandered congressional map destroying the congressional seat of CBC member Don Davis. We'll talk with the House Minority Leader, Robert Reives, about this. Arizona Attorney General suing House Speaker Mike Johnson, demanding that he swear in Representative Adelita Grijalva. Guess what? They've been screwing her over, and Johnson keeps saying, oh, no, we can't do it during the pro forma session, but he did it for 2 Republicans. A federal judge extends the order blocking the Trump administration from deploying hundreds of National Guard troops to Chicago and across Illinois. Also, Donald Trump takes the lie even further. They're now going to completely destroy the East Wing of the White House to build his ego-driven $250 million ballroom. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling.
Day 22 of the Donald Trump-MAGA government shutdown, the second longest in history. The Senate voted on the House-passed funding bill to reopen the federal government for the 12th time. It failed. Now Republican leaders have begun to raise the issue of changing the filibuster rules or developing a plan B, with Democrats holding firm on health care subsidies. Now, you have people like, literally, Democrat Senator John Fetterman, who says he supports the ending of the filibuster when it comes to budget issues. Texas Congressman Al Green joins us right now. Glad to have you on the show. So, you know what? I guess, you know, if you're going to go Republican light, just go full Republican. I mean, it has to be disappointing to have to deal with Senator John Fetterman, Democrat elected out of Pennsylvania, who is willing to stand with Republicans when it comes to ending the filibuster regarding the government shutdown.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be on, and it's always a privilege and a pleasure. I heard Senator Fetterman, but I must tell you, some of us Democrats wanted to have that filibuster rule eliminated so that we could pass John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And if we had, we wouldn't be having many of the problems that we're having today, because that John Lewis Voting Rights Act would have prevented much of what Trump is trying to do to steal congressional seats. So I still stand where I stood. I wanted to do it then, and I want to do it now. I think that they could have done this on day one. But the president had a scheme. Dr. King had a dream. The president has a scheme. And his scheme was and is to allow persons to be released because they are persons said to be non-essential, not essential workers. And then in doing this, by having other people declare them not essential, he can release them and say, we didn't need them anyway. They weren't essential. They're also prolonging this because they understand that we have the 218th vote necessary to make sure that we get some justice for all of these ladies who suffered as a result of Epstein. I think that letting them do it is something we can't prevent. They could have done it before now. I wish we had done it. And I do believe that our day will come, and the things that are important to us, we will be able to pass. It was Sinema and Manchin that prevented us from passing John Lewis voting rights, George Floyd justice and policing, raising the minimum wage, dealing with comprehensive immigration reform, making sure that LGBTQ community was treated fairly. These are things that I want to see done, and I don't oppose what the senator said, because I've already said earlier, as have many others, that this is something that we should do.
Well, the reason I raised that is because it's like, well, it's kind of late because he certainly wasn't saying that when Democrats were in control. That's the issue that I have here.
Well, I can see I see your point. Well, I'm consistent, dear brother. I am very consistent. I'm a liberated Democrat, unbought, unbossed, unafraid. And I said on October 2nd, that they would move to this point that they would eventually say shamelessly that we're going to go ahead and use the filibuster. They call it the nuclear option, of course, but it's just a 51 vote plus rule or a 60 vote plus rule. And they play games because just a little while ago, the president used that rule, the 51 vote rule, avoided the 60, so that he could get more persons of his choosing into key positions. They did it when they wanted to put Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. They passed it with 54 votes. It was 54 to 45, I believe. And they do it shamelessly. Well, I'm not ashamed to take a position that I believe will help us to overcome many of the transgressions that we've had to suffer from, including, remember, it was civil rights legislation that was filibustered. I mean, things that have been important to us, lynching legislation, all of these things have been important to us. And I appreciate what you said and affording me the opportunity to give my candid opinion. And it means something to me to know that you would call him out.
I have said repeatedly that Democrats have finally found a consistent winning argument that is resonating with the American people, and that is this battle over health care. And I said that, listen, it's a lot of stuff to be talking about, but every single day, every Democrat in the House, every Democrat in the Senate, including John Fetterman, should be locked and loaded on this issue of health care because it's winning for Democrats in the polls. And here's the deal. All of these broke conservative white folks in these red states, they can love them some Donald Trump, but they are scared to death. And we know based upon data. They were saying, of course, oh, don't get rid of Obamacare. Don't touch the Affordable Care Act, not realizing they were too stupid to realize it's the exact same thing. And so, to me, this is the one where you stand firm on and hammer every single day. You now got Senator Joni Ernst, who's not running for re-election, saying, guess what? Subsidies are not going to go away because these people are now realizing they need those subsidies or their health care is going to explode.
That's right. Well, let me give you an assurance. As a liberated Democrat, unbought, unbossed, unafraid, I assure you that I'm going to stand my ground. Now, I don't speak for the Democratic Party, but I speak for everybody that agrees with me. And it seems that a good many people in the party agree with me now. But to make your contention, your statement, which is a valid statement, even clearer for people, I had my staff to compile some data for us. And this is interesting. A person who made $255,000 in 2020 will have a tax cut in 2027 that will amount to about 4%. That makes you in the top 0.1% if you get this tax cut you'll get a $255,000 tax cut in 2027 if you're in the top 0.1%. Now, here's an important point. That is $698.63 a day. If you are a person who made $265, and this is your average benefit in 2027, you will get about 73 cents per day. This tax bill was designed to put money in the pockets of people who are high-income earners. People who are not high-income earners are getting pennies per day, and people who are high-income earners, 0.1%, are getting hundreds of dollars per day, almost $700 if you made $255,000.
That's a whole lot right there that's going to negatively impact people. Again, see, and this is where, a few months ago, Democratic leader Jeffries and some other Democrats were in New Orleans for an event, a news conference. And I said, man, listen, y'all were already in Louisiana. You should have had members at every single district office of Mike Johnson, Shreveport, and all those other different places, and showing this is how many people in this district are not going to have health care. And I'm telling you, we see it right now. Now you got these farmers who are crying because of Trump's tariffs, how they're getting screwed as well. All of these people who voted for him and voted for Republicans are now realizing, oh my goodness, we're getting screwed. And this is where Democrats should be saying, hashtag, we tried to tell you. We tried to tell you.
And it is an I told you so moment.
And sometimes you got to say I told you so.
Yes. And it's not just an I told you so for a little bit. In a good many of these states, you're going to pay twice as much for your health care. And in some others, you will approach thrice as much. So the amount that you will pay is going to vary, but it won't be by a small amount. people are going to pay a large amount of money, additional money for health care, because the Obamacare subsidies were there to help people with their health care costs. And I stand by these subsidies. I'm a guy who believes that in the richest country in the world, you ought to have health care simply because you're sick. I'm not a guy who believes that for some reason you've got to sign up 3 times a year or 2 times a year and prove that you are able to work someplace, volunteer to work. They can criticize me for that if they'd like, but I think sick people need health care, and we ought to give it to them because many of these people can be contagious, and they'll cause this sickness to be spread throughout society. So let's just start with the notion that we ought to have health care for people who are sick, whoever they happen to be. If they're sick, they need health care. And those people who say that immigrants are going to get health care who are undocumented, if you go to an emergency room and you are sick, do we turn people away if you've been hit with a car and you're in an emergency room? If we wound you in mortal combat and we don't kill you, we will give you aid and comfort. If we capture you after you tried to rob a bank and we don't kill you, when we hurt you, we'll give you aid and comfort. How can we decide that we are now going to turn away people who are hurt in an auto accident, they get to the emergency room, and we're not going to give them aid and comfort? I stand by people who are sick and in need of health care, receiving health care. And when we do it through the emergency rooms, we all pay more because we all have to cover that cost of additional care at an emergency room, and it costs a lot more. So let's try to give people health care because they're sick in this country. And I want to say this, I want to go back through these numbers again because they really are salient. And this is the point. If you are a person who is in the top 0.1%, and you will get an average tax cut of $255,000. Now that is $698.63 per day. If you are a person who is earning, say, less than $50,000 annually, you will get a tax cut of $265,000. Pardon, yeah, $265. Got to get these numbers right. $265. That's 73 cents per day. So the point is, the wealthy people will get a lot of money, and those who are not so wealthy are going to get pennies per day. The wealthy will get hundreds of dollars per day.
Well, keep in mind, they don't want undocumented workers getting health care, but if you're in Argentina, you can get $40 billion to save your economy.
Well, but they also want undocumented workers to pick the fruit. They want undocumented workers to work in slaughterhouses. If we kick all of the undocumented workers out of this country, the cost of labor is going to go up. You're going to get more inflation as a result. You're going to have a difficult time finding people to do this work. That's the first thing. But assuming you do, we're going to have to pay a lot more for it. So the impact in society is not something that ends at the border. It begins when those persons are removed from this country. And by the way, this president is doing this because, in his opinion, the United States of America is not white enough. He wants to give us some assurance, some people, not me, I don't need it, but give the country some assurance that we will not have a majority-minority country. And he's doing everything that he can to do this by removing some people for reasons associated with their being here, and they've done dastardly things. But he's also removing people like the lady that I represent here in Houston, Texas. She's in my congressional district, so I say I represent her, and she's come to my office. Her son is a person that has a learning disorder. She is undocumented. He is undocumented. He was separated from her. The police picked him up, turned him over to ICE. She can't get him unless she shows that she is a documented person. If she shows that she is not a documented person, she and her son will be removed, and then her daughter, who is also undocumented, would be removed. Now, she's here making a living, has committed no crimes, is helping the economy to a certain extent. Why would we go after her with ICE when you're talking about this notion of going after people who've committed these dastardly deeds? They're not interested in the deeds. They're interested in the ability to remove people from the country under some guise of them having done something that is horribly wrong. But they're not just limited to the people who've done bad things. They're limiting it to anybody that they can find who is undocumented, and they do it based upon skin color. I, at one time, was a person who was a suspect because of my skin color. All persons who are Latinos in this country now are suspect by ICE officers because of their skin color.
Well, absolutely. He wants to make America white again. That's what the strategy is, and it's abundantly clear. Congressman Al Green, we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, dear brother. Thank you.
All right, folks, going to a break. We come back. Let's talk about Trump wanting to make changes to the refugee program because he really just wants more white people in the country. Did I not try to tell y'all that in my book, White Fear? We're going to discuss that next right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Why the America we live in today is not what the founders intended or what they outlined in the Declaration of Independence and even the Constitution. Professor and author Kermit Roosevelt will join us to talk about his book, The Nation That Never Was. How history was misinterpreted, the intent and realities of America's beginnings, and missed a much better story in the process.
So if you have to pick some group to marginalize, I think it should be the people who are against equality.
That's next on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Nicole Cole knows the cornerstone of a successful life starts here. Virginia Public Schools gave Nicole an excellent education. They helped her become a small business owner, family financial planner, mother, and community leader. Now, after 4 years on the Spotsylvania School Board, Nicole is running for delegate to meet the needs of all students. As our delegate, Nicole will fully fund our schools, raise teacher salaries, and help graduating students stay in our communities. Nicole Cole for delegate. For us, for our future.
In the military, I gave orders, and they went a lot further than they do around here. If there's one thing I've learned as a mom and foster parent of more kids than I can count, investing in their future isn't a choice. In Richmond, I'll fight for Stafford's fair share for our schools. Smaller class sizes, better teacher pay, and more vocational training. I'm Stacey Carroll, and I'll fight to get our kids' future in order.
Josh Cole became a pastor and delegate to serve his community. That's why Josh is fighting to lower costs for families hurting from inflation and make sure we can all afford quality health care. But Sean Steinway has embraced his MAGA backers who support Trump's mass firing of federal workers and the MAGA plan to ban abortion with no exceptions. We deserve better than Sean Steinway.
I'm Josh Cole, candidate for delegate, and I sponsored this ad. As a pastor, I hear a lot about trips to the doctor, bills piling up, jobs being lost. So as your delegate, I went to work writing laws that protect families, helping parents care for their disabled children, capping insulin costs, lowering prescription prices, and investing in our police and schools. I'm Josh Cole, and as your delegate, I'm working to keep us strong and safe.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the original T-Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Now, how many times have I tried to explain to y'all that Donald Trump cares about white people, Republican Party as well? What did I say in my book, White Fear? How the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. What did I tell y'all that what they're trying to do? Well, check this out. New York Times reported this right here. This is the headline. Trump considers overhaul of refugee system that would favor white people. The proposals would transform a program aimed at helping the most vulnerable people in the world into one that gives preference to mostly white people who say they are being persecuted. Article goes on to lay this out. The proposals, some of which already have gone into effect, would transform a decades-old program. It was presented to the White House in April by State and Homeland Security. And it's just real simple, y'all. Again, this is what they look at this. The proposed changes would put in new emphasis on whether applicants will be able to assimilate into the United States, directing them to take classes on, quote, American history and values and respect for culture norms. The proposals also advised Mr. Trump to prioritize Europeans who have been targeted for peaceful expression of views online, such as opposition to mass migration or support for populist political parties. Y'all, this is about whiteness. That's what they want. The attacks on DEI, the attacks the efforts to defund Black America, Stephen Miller and his white nationalist policies as well. All that you're seeing when it comes to ICE and undocumented workers, y'all, this ain't about protecting the border. This literally is about how do you keep this country as white as possible. My panel, Rebecca Carruthers, she is president and CEO of the Fair Elections Center, joining us out of Washington, D.C. Dr. Larry J. Walker, associate professor, University of Central Florida out of Orlando. Dr. Neon B. Carter, associate professor, School of Public Policy, University of Maryland, author of American While Black, African Americans, Immigration, and the Limits of Citizenship out of D.C. Neon, I'm going to start with you. This is why they want to change the 14th Amendment. This is why they want it when it comes to birthright citizenship. Donald Trump and MAGA, Project 2025, is about whiteness, pure and simple, nobody else.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we saw that on display this summer when that first crop of South Africans were classified as refugees and then fast-tracked into the country. Meanwhile, we have thousands.
Also based upon a lie. They would not be persecuted. White farmers would not be persecuted at all. It was all a lie.
Absolutely. South Africans have said this. White South Africans have said this. We know this. I mean, I think Donald Trump's administration has just gotten really good at saying the quiet part out loud. I mean, what we've seen is this systematic effort, right, to make white people victims, not just in the United States, but globally. And also, in this case, to artificially lower our cap for refugees, real refugees, people that have already been vetted, and disallow them to come into the country. It is unfortunate, it's sad, and I think this year they are looking to reserve almost all the seats available to refugees for white South Africans. And the remaining 500 or so, they're only going to do 7,500, which is a historic low, will be for everybody else who speaks English and has positive things to say about free speech or something like that. So this is pretty naked in terms of what this government is trying to do.
Larry, it's clear. The hoods are off. They are openly embracing white supremacy, white nationalism. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, and now you hit it right on it. I mean, this is first of all, this is an old playbook. I mean, this is not new in terms of what the Republican Party is doing with white South Africans. First of all, it's really sad in terms of the importance of the refugee program in terms of over the last several years, in terms of the individuals who are from war-torn countries who've come to the United States and made major contributions. But this is about Make America White Again. It really is, this issue relating to the shifting demographics, and I think it's by 2042, or whatever the age will be, majority minority country. And, you talked about your book, and I've done some work on this also, is that is this embedded fear of not being the majority anymore and, what it would mean to be in a minority. And this is impacting, not only those who recently in the United States, but folks who've been here for decades who are still green card holders. We see some of those individuals, whether at airports or in communities, being snatched up by ICE and other, entities. But this terrorism, because it's essentially what it is going to continue. And if we don't continue to fight, demonstrate, et cetera. But once again, Roland, we should remind folks that we told them over several months that this would happen if Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. And so now we're all left to deal with this madness, and it's going to continue, and we're going to see a lot of people hurt.
Rebecca, the article says this here. According to the rationale laid out in the document submitted to Mr. Trump, America's acceptance of refugees has made the country too diverse. Quote, the sharp increase in diversity has reduced the level of social trust essential for the functioning of a democratic polity. The administration should only welcome refugees who can be fully and appropriately assimilate and are aligned with the president's objectives. What they're saying here is we want white people. We want people as white as possible. White, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, that's what we want.
Roland, for all of the people who've always criticized Black folks in this country and have asked the question, why do you all always make it about race? The reason why we talk about race as a Black people in this country is because it has always been about race. We've heard a lot of people talk about how we're in a new Reconstruction. Well, guess what? The last time we were at this low point in our country, when we were at the first nadir in this country, it was during post-Reconstruction. And when we saw the Civil Rights Act of 1875 get demolished during post-Reconstruction, it took about 82 years to climb out of that. So now we recognize that we are in a second nadir. We're in a second low point in this country. We're seeing a resurgence of white supremacy that never went away because it was never actually addressed in this country. I don't know about you, but I don't have the patience to wait 82 years. Now it's time to actually deal with those issues that weren't correctly dealt with in the past. We are here now, and now it's time for that confrontation. It's time for that moment to right those wrongs.
Absolutely. And so just understand, I saw this clip earlier from the TV show The Practice where they talked about it. I'm gonna find it, try to play it later. But again, it speaks to the reality that we're facing in this country. And when they talk about the issue of whiteness, it also extends to our politics. Now, we told you last week, the Supreme Court had the oral arguments that could wipe out anywhere from 12 to 19, upwards of 30 members of the CBC, also some Latinos as well, because you've got white Republicans who don't want race to be issued. Now then, they want to now say, oh no, when we do gerrymandering, it's not about race, it's about politics. That's interesting, because in North Carolina, white Republicans, it's always been about race. Always. See, they got busted. They got busted for targeting Black people when it came to voting. Yep, federal judges busted them, literally said there was a surgical-like precision targeting Black people. Donald Trump is now running around wanting to say, let's get more districts, more districts. So Republicans in North Carolina said, oh, say no more. The state legislature, they approved a new congressional map and pulled the map up. As you can see, the map creates one additional Republican seat, bolstering the party's majority ahead of next year's midterm elections. It's going to target the seat currently held by Congressman Don Davis, who's African American. Now, North Carolina state law does not allow the governor, Josh Stein, a Democrat, to veto redistricting bills. Robert Reives, the North Carolina State House Minority Leader, he joins us right now. I'm glad to have you on the show. Let's just be clear. White Republicans have been targeting Black people in North Carolina because they are still pissed off with 2008. 2008, President, then Senator Barack Obama, won North Carolina by 14,100 votes. And man, since then, Republicans there have been doing everything they can to change voting laws, to change procedures, to target Black people. There have been lawsuits. You had Moral Mondays. You had Bishop William Barber and others going to court, Democracy Now! And so what we're dealing with here, Robert, is pure and simple. It is literally a battle over Black and white in North Carolina.
Yeah, and I can definitely see where you get that. And Roland, I appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate all the work that you guys do. What we've been running into, like you said, since that time has been a gerrymandering problem that, again, Justice Clarence Thomas said was racist. And so with that being said, everything you've been doing since that time has to be viewed with that lens. And that is not accusing anybody of anything. I don't know whatever's on anybody's mind. What I know is that Don Davis recognized one thing. The bill that has been submitted and has been voted on and made law in Congress cannot work for Northeastern North Carolina. It can't work for rural North Carolina. 80% of this state is rural. And it's not just hurting Black people. It's hurting Black people, white people, Latino people, Native Americans, every Asian. Everybody is getting hurt by this thing. And yes, you can't help but notice that Don Davis, who represents a district that took 90 years to get an African-American to represent it, despite the large African-American population, is now being put out of office for whatever reason.
And so for the people who will say, well, Ro, I think that, I mean, I hear you, but I think you're just, taking too far. No. Well, you said it, you just said it. Even Clarence Thomas was like, damn, this is racist. I mean, what Republicans were, they literally put it on paper. Hey, can y'all find out when black people vote early? And they saw 70% of black votes were cast in early voting. So they slashed early voting. Then they said, we're only going to have one polling location per county as well. I mean, direct, unambiguous attacks on black people in North Carolina.
And what I would say also is, and again, I'm in office. I'm not endorsing, not saying anything about what anybody's intentions are. But what I would say is that
I am.
If you notice, I understand. If you notice the effect that it's having, I think people got to understand that if we don't speak out, if we don't do anything, then we're basically saying it's okay. And I'll have to acknowledge I was a little unhappy to see that there weren't any faces of people that were being affected showing up today to show their displeasure. We've got to stop sitting on the sidelines, all of us. This isn't on the back of Roland Martin. This isn't on the back of elected officials. This isn't on the back of Hakeem Jeffries. This is on the back of everyone who is worried about what the next generation looks like and what their opportunities are. And until we show that we're serious about this, I'm afraid that you're going to see a lot of this continue. And again, I want to be clear because North Carolina gets real funny and folks get real funny about what you're saying they are or aren't doing. I'm not trying to read anybody's mind. I'm telling you what the effect is. And if that is the effect, that should be taken into account when you're doing these things.
Well, see, I'm not reading their minds. I'm reading what they actually said. This is from July 2016. This is a Washington Post article. And I need people to understand, okay? Again, people listen to me clearly. Republicans in North Carolina have been pissed off because Obama won the state. North Carolina used to be one of the worst states when it came to voter turnout. But because people, activists and others were on the ground beating the bush, and then Obama comes in, black voter blows up. And then all of a sudden, North Carolina rises to the top portion of the state, of the country, when it came to voter turnout because of 2008. Ever since then, it's been suppressed, suppressed, suppressed. This is an article, again, in the Washington Post, July 29, 2016. The headline says, "The Smoking Gun Proving North Carolina Republicans Try to Disenfranchise Black Voters." And a federal court struck down the North Carolina voter ID law, and the architect of that was Tom Tillis, later in the United States Senate. You had Pat McCrory and others, and they laid out. They found only 31 individual cases of voter impersonation, and the judges found that the provisions, quote, target African Americans with almost surgical precision. This data showed that African Americans disproportionately lacked the most common kind of photo ID, those issued by the Department of Motor Vehicles, so the legislators did it on purpose. Quote, with race data in hand, the legislature amended the bill to exclude many of the alternative photo IDs used by African Americans. The bill retained only the kinds of IDs that white North Carolinians were more likely to possess. Now, that's not me saying I think what they were doing. These are federal judges who said, yeah, we see what they were doing. Now, let's move forward. You had an opportunity when Sherry Beasley was Chief Justice of North Carolina Supreme Court. And to your point about people falling asleep, this is a perfect example. Had she she lost by 401 votes. 400. Had she got, and for people who don't understand, that people on the show, I keep talking about state Supreme Courts and why they matter. When the Democrats, because the Supreme Court races are partisan, when they took control of the Supreme Court, what did they rule against? This law. They ruled against racial gerrymandering, ruled against partisan gerrymandering. They stopped the Republican legislature, a lot of their craziness. Those Republicans were so pissed off, they wanted to take the power of the Supreme Court, which is supposed to be the highest in the state, and give it to the court beneath them because Republicans control that. So what happens? She runs for re-election. She loses. So Democrats could have had a 6-1 majority. It went to 4-3. The next election, I think it was a brother who was on the court. He ran for another office. They filled that once, so they flipped. Now Republicans have a 5-2 majority. That's why they tried to take out the white woman who just won. But it was over her election, I think it was 700 some odd votes. And that's why they have been trying to target. They tried to impeach Anita Earls because she gave her opinion on diversity. And so So I need our people to understand, had black folks, especially in the in the black belt, East North Carolina, had we maximized our votes, Robert, we'll be having a different conversation in North Carolina about political power.
Exactly. 40 votes per county. If we picked up 40 votes per county, Sherry Beasley's in place, everything's different right now. But we chose not to do that, and that's what I'm saying. We've got to decide, and here's the gift we've been given, Roland. The gift is that now the federal government has said they want churches fully involved. They want churches to take positions.
That's right. From the pulpit. Church pastors can endorse from the pulpit.
Yes. So that's an opportunity, because the strongest, the largest motivator and the largest position maker that we have had in our history has been the black church. So this is an opportunity for every black pastor in this country to step up, not to try to take care of any particular party or group, but to take care of their own.
Take care of their parishioners.
Yes, that's it. And so all you got to do is take the position, who's going to help the people that I am pastoring, the people I am preaching to, the people who don't have health care, the people who don't have educational opportunities. Do you know how hard it is in North Carolina right now if you don't live in one of the big cities to get anything? You don't have public transportation. You don't have these private schools that they're throwing all of our tax money into. You don't have any of this stuff. And so you got to depend on the government to at least give you a shot. And folks that live in rural North Carolina are getting killed on this, which again is what makes taking Don Davis out so treacherous.
So before I go to my panel with questions, and I'll tell you this here, I had a pastor, this was Reverend Sharpton had his National Action Network conference, and a pastor called me asking me if I was attending. I wasn't. I had something else to do, and he said, they were having a panel on the state of the black church during Trump. I said, man, stop wasting your breath. He was like, what? I said, this is what y'all should be focused on. I said, this is all you should be focused on. You should be focused on what is the National Action Network's committee specifically for North Carolina and Georgia. I said, there's a U.S. Senate race in 2026. I said, Anita Earls is on the ballot to retain her Supreme Court seat in 2026. I said, NAN and other religious groups should be locked and loaded saying we're going to have massive turnout in 2026. When I met, when I met with the alphas during CBCF, I said the exact same thing. I'm giving the National Pan-Hellenic keynote speech at the conference on October 31st in Houston. I'm telling them the exact same thing. And this is what I told them. I said, no disrespect, but y'all should ignore West North Carolina. I said, because what happens is all the attention is always in West North Carolina. And I'm going to put, and so, I was saying the same thing when I was in North Carolina. I was there. We were broadcasting, doing things for Vice President Kamala Harris. And what I said to them is, what often happens, all of the money, all of the visits go to North Carolina. She made 22 visits during the 4 years to North Carolina, made one visit to East North Carolina, one. And what I said to folks is you got to understand the state, and you know this very well. When you look at the state of North Carolina and you break it down, and what people have to understand. So folks, so go to my iPad right now. Y'all, this is a state right here. If you essentially, let's just say you see Raleigh. If I draw a line, let's see here. No, I'm gonna pull up, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull, this ad pops up. I'm gonna do this here. And tell me if I'm wrong here, Robert. If I put that line to the left where it says Raleigh, and that line goes straight down, let's say where it says Granville, goes down the way, Harnett, Cumberland. If I draw that line down there, and I say I'm gonna hit everything to the right of that line, that's the richest part of black voters that gets the least amount of attention and the least amount of money to turn out in elections statewide. Correct? Yes or no?
Absolutely correct. That is it. And Roland, what is interesting is that I've heard pundits up until recently tell us, well, no, we can't do anything down east. There's not much hope or anything of that sort. And you're seeing numbers of 30% population in the county, 40% populations in counties, and we're just not going out there talking to them. Just go out there and talk to them, tell them what's going on, and then come right back. And I'm glad you brought up activating the alphas. I've activated my fraternity, Kappas, and I mean, and the local Kappas have gone crazy about trying to get out here. They're canvassing now. And my question is, why is the Divine Nine not doing this? I mean, we've got an opportunity. We can knock doors every day until 26.
Right. You don't need permission.
They will welcome us. You'd be shocked. I was shocked. I'd never knocked doors before I ran for office. I was shocked at how happy people were to see me and to see us and to see faces they felt they could relate to. And you'd be shocked at how many people want to help us do that. I had organizations call when I talked about the activism of, and I give out a shout out to Tony and my Raleigh alumni chapter. But when he was talking about, look, I want to canvass, I want to do these things, I want to organize. They said, free training. You tell us when to show up, where to show up. We will train you. We will talk to you. We will help you. We will attend. We will stay out of the way if you want us. But there is no reason. We had a bill last year that would all but effectively shut down the Divine Nine on all campuses in North Carolina. I mean, think about that. Look at what just happened at UNC Chapel Hill. 52 years they've been part of that lounge and then just taken, just like that, like they were never there. And we're not standing up. Think of the athletic money that you've got. You think of all of the people that we have. At one point in time, we had 2 black billionaires in North Carolina. Why aren't we activating these networks? So I'm with you. I mean, it's all this opportunity, and we're just letting it go.
Questions from the panel. Rebecca, you first.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. So I lead a national voting rights nonprofit. We do a lot of work in North Carolina, including work on college campuses with organizing those campuses for civic engagement. We do nonpartisan work, but how can nonpartisan organizations such as Fair Election Center support to make sure that when redistricting happens, that it's fair, is following the law, and it's not having a negative impact on marginalized communities?
Well, I tell you, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking that question. Nonpartisan groups have a special opportunity because the lines have been drawn so well. And I apologize, I guess that sounds like a pun, but I'm saying in the sense of there are folks who feel like everybody should be voting. There are folks who seem to feel like everybody shouldn't be voting. And if you believe in voting, it's a pretty easy thing. Here are the ways that we can make it easier to vote. Here is how voting affects you. I went and talked to a group of college students last night. And one thing I walked them through is how there is no business in America that has not become successful because of the government taking interest in that business.
Boom.
And writing stuff that would help those businesses go forward. I went to speak at...
No. Stop. No, stop.
Oh,
I need you to repeat that again for the people in the back who don't understand, who say, government don't do nothing in my life. Government ain't got no impact on my life. Every business knows that's a lie. Go ahead, say it again.
And that's why these businesses spend so much money in elections. That's why Citizens United was such a game changer. Because now businesses can say, this is going to help my business. I'm going to pour money into it. We just had that happen here in North Carolina. We got a brand new industry that didn't exist because the business donated some money. At least that's what it appears. Red Speed donates the money. Suddenly they've got traffic cameras deciding about who's going to get caught for speeding. Not police officers, not anybody else, but traffic cameras. Literally, no business in this country has become successful without government stepping in, changing regulations, helping them with loans, helping them with the ability to attract loans. Finance Magazine said you can see where redlining will or won't happen just by the representation that somebody's got. Just that simple, because the government's the only ones that can lean on a bank to say, you've got to help these folks out just like you're helping everybody else.
Yep.
Tons of government money out there you're never going to have access to if you're not involved in government.
Larry.
Yeah, thank you for taking time this evening. And you hit on some things. You talked about the Divine Nine and maybe certainly some failures in terms of political activism. As we move closer to the midterms, what does black political activism, what will look like in North Carolina? Do you need to consider non-traditional approaches? What is it going to look like now, particularly as we're talking about gerrymandering?
Hold on, Rob, before you answer that question, we're not moving closer to the midterms. We are in the cycle now. Right now, we're in it now. Robert, go ahead.
Yes. And what I would say to that is simply this: you can always be innovative, but I'm telling you, there are things that work that we just don't utilize, and that's the problem. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. I am telling you factually. How do I know? Because we had a race in North Carolina in one of our districts, state house districts, that got decided by 400 votes. Republicans spent almost $2 million to just knock doors, to pay people to knock doors, which means they know that it works in areas.
Hold on. Hold up. The Republicans paid people a total of $2 million to knock doors. Democrats, stop expecting us to knock on doors for free. Robert, go ahead.
There you go, Roland. There you go.
I ain't got a problem saying it, but go right ahead.
Stop expecting people to volunteer. Do you know how many people that are working 2 jobs that would love to give up their second job if you just give them the money to supplement? They believe in your cause. They just need help. We can't afford to just stop. You can't even afford to serve in that General Assembly right now. We get paid $13,000 a year, and we run almost the full 2 years. So that means that you got to have a job that pays you enough money to supplement, and on top of that, gives you the leeway to leave, miss work for weeks on end, and then come back and pretend like nothing has happened. Stop expecting people to give up their livelihoods, especially when we don't know, what those results will be. And it's more dangerous now than it's ever been. Not dangerous in the sense I'm saying of physically, but dangerous in the sense of we have had people that we've asked to run and we've asked to volunteer that have said, I was planning to run for office, but then I was told I'm going to lose my job. I was told if I do these things, this is what's going to happen. We've got to be more considerate of those factors and make sure people have the ability to get out and help. But again, back to the original question, there are tons of time-proven methods to get people out to vote, and the doors that are knocked on the very least are black doors.
Niambi.
They want to hear what's happening.
Thank you, Robert. I think this is really important. I'm a former North Carolina resident. My family lives in District 1, so I am very aware of many of the issues that are happening. Right, my family's from Warren County, Halifax, and Vance, and so it's not surprising, given the way that these places have historically been treated by the state, that this would happen yet again, right? But this is also the same place that was the home of the environmental justice movement.
Yep.
These people were not the most well-resourced. These people were not the best educated, but they knew something was wrong in their communities. So how do we tap into that spirit again? And also, how do we bring in this generation of young people? Because we have high dropout rates in this very same district. We have a lot of also very motivated college students in and around District 1 and other parts of Eastern North Carolina. So how do we mobilize those young people who want to do something and are actually in a place where it matters? The margins are what's making elections in these places in and around the state of North Carolina. So how do we bring those constituencies together of young people along with this spirit of our elders who showed us that laying down in the street can be a really effective way to get some movement and some traction if you need to. And you don't have to know everything about an issue to do that.
Robert, while you're talking, we're actually playing the video of when the head of the EPA, Michael Regan, was there in North Carolina announcing these monumental changes. We actually were the only media outlet broadcasting live from there. So go right ahead.
Exactly. And I think that's such a wonderful point that you brought up. Everybody thinks that you got to have this background, this training, all this kind of stuff. All of us do. I thought that. When I got elected, I was scared to death to go up there because I was just like, I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't planning to do this. And then you get in, you realize all that matters is you work and you try. And people will reward you for effort. Again, I bring back up talking to these college students. You will hear the narrative when it's a bunch of adults in the room saying these kids don't care, these kids won't do this, these kids won't do that. And then you go talk to them, and all they want somebody to do is come to them and say, hey, what's going on? How does it connect to me? And tell me how I can change things. And when they find that out, they will outwork everybody in the room. And if you do this in Northeast North Carolina with the history that it has, it would be amazing. The environmental justice movement was one of the most important movements that we had going on in North Carolina, because one of the things folks didn't realize is how bad black people were affected and other minority groups by this. I mean, that goes through hog farm fights and all these kinds of things. but you got to let people know. And we just don't talk to people. And it's not one of those things, and I appreciate what you guys are doing even today. It's not something where you can place all the blame on any particular group. It's a lot of people that have just decided that we're not going to go out here and talk to these folks or educate them because they don't fit some narrative. And I'm telling you, there is not a human being breathing that you shouldn't be talking to. I'd be talking to people 14 and 15 too, because at some point they're going to be voting. Start with kids early. I started with my kids. I started with my kids when they were young and just telling them, here are the issues. Here are the ways that they affect you. Here are the things that you can do to change it. This is what you got to do. But we've all got to have those conversations. We can't depend. We're not going to have another Barack Obama in our lifetimes, most likely, simply because we don't appreciate how great a person he was, how magical he was for the moment. We're not going to have another William Barber in North Carolina anytime in our lifetime. You've got to take it upon yourselves, all of us, to say that we're not going to let moments pass where we don't have these discussions with people.
Well, I'm going to say this here. You've got, there's a lot of excitement on the Democratic side because you've got former Governor Roy Cooper running for the United States Senate. I've already reached out to his campaign for he and I to have a conversation. But this is also what has to happen. And this is where, and I think this is important for, I think for you, for Congresswoman Alma Adams and Davis, and let's say grassroots folks. And that is, it has to be a very loud and clear statement made to the white strategists. Let me be very clear, to the white media strategists, to the white campaign strategists who control the money, to say, y'all want to dump all your money on television? You better put your damn money on the ground. And the reality is, because see, we went there. We were there. We were there in churches in Rocky Mount. We went to Elizabeth City. We went to Fayetteville State. We did broadcast from those campuses. And what people need to understand is, you got to be there, and you got to be. It has to be constant. You got to be knocking on doors 4, 5, 6 times. The money has to be there. And I'm gonna keep challenging the D9, and I'm gonna keep challenging Prince Hall Mason. I'm sorry. I keep saying the Eastern Star as well. I'm tired of having all these black groups and we meet. And, well, what are we meeting for? How do you use your power? But we got to put pressure on the folk with money to say, you keep spending money, but then you want us to be sharecroppers. You want us to volunteer, work for free, and turn out votes to see strategists and others get rich. No, you better put that money on the ground. And I'm telling you right now, that seat in North Carolina can be flipped. Georgia can be held. We can actually defeat these people. And here's the piece. Anita Earls gets reelected. 3 of those state Supreme Court seats Republicans hold are up in 28. Absolutely. They can get taken out. And so if those can be flipped, all of a sudden you win those 3 in North Carolina and 28, all of a sudden Democrats have a majority on that state Supreme Court, and they can come back, because the Republicans did this here. For people who are watching, the Democratic-controlled Supreme Court had made judicial rulings. When the Republicans won in November, they came back 3 months after the initial ruling and said, oh, we're going to consider these cases again, and overturn those rulings. So guess what?
Exactly.
Payback is a mother. That can happen again. But we have got to maximize our numbers, and I'm telling y'all, the path to victory in North Carolina is in the black belt of the eastern portion of the state. We got to be on the ground, being back. And I can tell you right now, we're going to be there broadcasting like we did last year. We're going to be there again next year. We literally are, all this damn noise Antoine's making over here is we're sitting here putting together our crane because we're going to have multiple units out around the country, because I'm telling you, we doing real work here right now. All this stuff is happening because we have to be driving the black vote and maximizing our power. Simple as that, Robert. Final comment.
Final comment is this, Roland. You're absolutely right on everything you're saying. I want to add one point. Sometimes you can't get folks to do what you know needs to get done, and then you have to do it yourself.
Yep.
The money follows money. If the wealth in the black community, and this isn't just limited to people who live in North Carolina and Georgia, the other 48 states, everybody can participate. You take that wealth, and that wealth starts getting channeled, and that wealth starts saying, I'm giving you guys money, and this is what I want to see done with it. and then people ignore them, you give it directly to the people who are going to make it happen.
Yeah.
There are programs we can put in place right now that if folks will work, put the money together and fund it, I promise you, nobody wants to get left behind when something starts working. That's the great thing about politics. They see something working, everybody's going to join in. But when we can't go and say, hey, look, these are the people who have put their stake in, it's hard to get other people who already don't think like you to then turn around and give you the money. But when I can walk in and I can say, here are these millionaires, these black millionaires, who have for this all of this time been important parts of your machine. This is what they're funding and this is what they would like to see happen. You start getting in line. And so that is my final point is this is all doable. These margins are so small. And I know one of the panelists said that again. I want to repeat that. The difference in the majority in that House, for all intents and purposes, at some point in time has come down to about 6,000, 7,000 votes. That's nothing. That's something we can overcome. We got people that won by 100, people that won by 700, 800. Let's make it happen. But we have got to show that we're just as serious as we want others to be. I've never asked anybody to do something that I don't do myself. And so that's what I would ask, and that is my plea. Thank you, Roland, for what you're doing. Can't wait to see you down in North Carolina, and can't wait to go down east with you. Because we got a lot of great people that want some help and want some change.
Well, I've told our people, look, give to the Black Voters Matter, groups like that who are on the ground. I said we can fund it ourselves. And listen, when we got together, Win with Black Men, and we had that big conference call that Monday after Joe Biden dropped out, $1.5 million was raised, and there were some people who literally came to me. They were mad because we kept $450 grand, $1.1 million went to her campaign, and I told them, you can get the hell out of my damn face. I said we kept $450 grand, so we gonna get that money directly to black male groups who are doing the work. I said, so I don't care what you got to say. And they was backed up. I said, and we gonna do it again too. And so that's the other piece. If we can mobilize to raise $1.5 million brothers, and then the almost 2 million the sisters raised, guess what? We can do the exact same thing to target these two states because the votes are there. We drive the black votes in those two states, we win. Robert, we appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you soon in North Carolina.
Hey, Roland, can I say one thing?
Yes, sir.
One last thing, and I apologize for saying this. Here's the other thing I got to remind people. Whatever's working for black people actually works for everybody that's working. There's an economic struggle going on just as much as a racial struggle. Labor has come in and been invaluable in trying to help us out in a lot of these races for African Americans. So make sure when we're telling this message, understand, if it works for us, everybody's going to eat.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Well, that's history. Bottom line is broke white people, their quality of life increased every time black people fought for rights. That's just a fact.
Amen.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Man.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to support our work, join via Cash App. And yes, y'all, I'm literally sitting here doing the show, depositing. Y'all, see, come on, Anthony, switch. Thank you. I'm sitting here depositing checks and money orders, just trying to knock these checks and money orders out. And so y'all want to give it Cash App, use the Stripe QR code you see at the bottom right left-hand corner. That's for credit cards as well. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Again, checks and money order, make it payable to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037 7-0196. Back in a moment.
Nicole Cole knows the cornerstone of a successful life starts here. Virginia Public Schools gave Nicole an excellent education. They helped her become a small business owner, family financial planner, mother, and community leader. Now, after 4 years on the Spotsylvania School Board, Nicole is running for delegate to meet the needs of all students. As our delegate, Nicole will fully fund our schools, raise teacher salaries, and help graduating students stay in our communities. Nicole Cole for delegate. For us, for our future.
In the military, I gave orders, and they went a lot further than they do around here. If there's one thing I've learned as a mom and foster parent of more kids than I can count,
investing in their future isn't a choice.
In Richmond, I'll fight for Stafford's fair share for our schools. Smaller class sizes, better teacher pay, and more vocational training.
I'm Stacey Carroll, and I'll fight to get our kids' future in order.
Josh Cole became a pastor and delegate to serve his community. That's why Josh is fighting to lower costs for families hurting from inflation and make sure we can all afford quality health care. But Sean Steinway has embraced his MAGA backers who support Trump's mass firing of federal workers and the MAGA plan to ban abortion with no exceptions. We deserve better than Sean Steinway.
I'm Josh Cole, candidate for delegate, and I sponsored this ad.
How you doing? My name is Mark Carey, and you're watching Roland Martin, unfiltered, deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
The federal judge overseeing the prosecution of Congresswoman LaMonica McIver of New Jersey by Donald Trump and his maggots has instructed the government to remove social media posts he deemed prejudicial to her case. U.S. District Judge Jamel Semper ordered the Department of Homeland Security to take down 9 posts that label McIver's visit to a New Jersey detention center as a, quote, reckless stunt by sanctuary politicians. Judge Semper stated that these posts, quote, were not factual and that the prejudice against McIver was self-evident. McIver pleaded not guilty to 3 felony charges of, quote, forcibly impeding and interfering with law enforcement during a May visit to the ICE facility. Federal authorities accused her of attacking and interfering with ICE agents during a visit with Newark Mayor Ras Baraka, who was also arrested. Charges were later dismissed. Her legal team calls the case pure politics, saying McIver is being targeted as a Democrat while Trump pardoned January 6 rioters and dropped similar assault cases. If the charges aren't dropped, McIver could face several years in prison. 2 of the charges carry a maximum sentence of up to 8 years in prison. Well, it's not like it's no shock here, Larry. They're liars. That's what the Trump people are. They're liars.
Yeah, Roland, like you, I'm on social media a lot, and the amount of propaganda that is being sent out is certainly nothing we've seen like in the United States. And I know we talk a lot about other countries that have struggled, with authoritarianism, but we're seeing levels of propaganda, like I said, I've just never seen before. And the constant Homeland Security, state, Department of Education, they're all putting out propaganda, bold-faced lies. And as we know, Roland, whether it's immigration issues or this particular topic, the Trump administration consistently has been called out for not just fabrications, blatant lies. And this is another example. And I'm glad the judge called it out. The troubling issue is that, the kind of years that she could possibly get. And this is just another example of what happens in authoritarian governments. This doesn't happen in democracies. And as you noted, those January 6th insurrectionists are home chilling, except for the one who, tried to kill, Hakeem Jeffries. So we've got to do a better job of continue to hold these folks, responsible. But I think we should also acknowledge this is an example of another Black woman who the Trump administration has put in the crosshairs and deemed that she's doing something that they don't agree with, and that she has to be punished.
These people are absolute thugs, Niambi. And it's no shot the judge ordered them to delete this because everything they do is prejudicial. They don't care about due process.
Absolutely not. And they certainly don't care that Representative McIver was there with others who were actually trying to do their job and figure out what was happening in these facilities. I mean, I think what we have here is an administration, and not I think, I know, right? You said it over and over again, an administration that is committed, right, to lying, to obstructing, to ignoring, to, openly flouting the law. And they are there primarily to use Black and brown people, whether they be government officials or regular everyday citizens, to make their political point. And they use our pain. They use every power at their disposal, including detention and jail, to try to move us out of the way of what they ultimately want to do, which is restore, right? And I'm using that term very deliberately, America to a place where they felt like, whites could reign supreme. And so this does not surprise me that they are going after Representative McIver in this way for essentially doing her job. as a representative and member of Congress.
Rebecca?
I really don't know what I can add in addition to what the other two panelists added. At the end of the day, like I said, over the previous weeks, is that we have to keep a record of what's happening because there's going to be a reckoning. It's interesting thinking about those January 6 rioters who committed crimes by trespassing and causing violence at the U.S. Capitol. And, if we are to believe some of the reports that are out there, there's reports that there's possibilities that some of these folks are now working for ICE. So it's, at the end of the day, I do believe that the Congresswoman will be fine. However, what we're watching is not normal. It's not okay. It's not fine to watch how First Amendment rights and things that ordinary Americans protest or do to stand as witnesses is now being criminalized. And now there's whole swaths of people who are doing that pro-democracy work who are being labeled as domestic terrorists. So we really have to keep our eye on this and understand this is not normal. And we have to make sure that young people also understand that this isn't normal in this country and it's not business as usual.
Well, speaking of what's not normal, the constant lying by that idiot Donald Trump. Now, remember when he said that, for his big, beautiful Mar-a-Lago type ballroom, they were going to, we're not even going to touch the East Wing. We're not going to touch it. We're not going to touch it. So what ended up happening? He lied. They're now demolishing the East Wing. They're now demolishing it. And now the National Trust for Historic Preservation, they finally woke the hell up. And so they decided to actually send a letter today, kind of stupid after the fact, saying that the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which is a private, charitable, educational, nonprofit corporation, chartered by Congress in 1949 to further historic preservation policies of the U.S., they say this proposed construction of a 90,000 square foot ballroom that, it acknowledges the utility of a larger meeting space at the White House. But they say we're deeply concerned that the massing and height of the proposed new construction will overwhelm the White House itself. It's 55,000 square feet, and may also permanently disrupt the carefully balanced classical design of the White House with its two smaller and lower east and west wings. Wow, y'all finally woke up. Now, mind you, in the letter, y'all, they literally and it says, the federally recognized Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation offer clear guidance for construction projects affecting historic properties. The standards provide that new additions should not destroy the historic fabric of the property and that the new work should be compatible with existing massing, size, scale, and architectural features. We respectfully urge the administration and National Park Service to pause demolition until plans for the proposed ballroom go through the legally required public review processes, including consultation and review by the National Capital Planning Commission and the Commission of Fine Arts, and to invite comment from the public. Where exactly have they been, Rebecca? Now you're saying, pause demolition. Can y'all play the video again? They're tearing the shit down. Trump has already said, we're going to tear down all of the East Wing, all of it. And to that particular point, Rebecca, this is what the Washington Post put out. This is going to be the what it's going to look like. That's how massive this ballroom is going to be. And absolutely, it is going to overwhelm the size of the White House. But when you are an egomaniac narcissist, you're building a monument to yourself. And so all he's trying to do is recreate Mar-a-Lago. This is a joke.
Roland, I had a meeting over by the White House yesterday, and I actually walked by the White House to look and observe and to actually watch the demolition happen, and took pictures and video because it's ridiculous. We could talk about the aesthetics of it because it's stupid. I also promised my dad that I was not going to cuss tonight, so I want to try to say this while cussing.
You know damn well you want to cuss. You know you want to cuss. Go ahead.
I want to so bad. Can we talk about the security aspects of this? Do people realize realize that there's a bunker underneath the East Wing that is the equivalent of a skiff? Do people really understand what that means? Like, so we have these people who didn't go through regular order, who are now we don't even know if they pulled the proper permits. They haven't been vetted they haven't been vetted by the Secret Service. We really don't know who these contractors are, who they're subcontracting out to. We really don't understand the integrity of the products and the construction pieces that they're using to do this work. This is a huge national security problem. This is going to be similar to like in the 80s when at the end of the Cold War, how throughout DC there was lots of holes punched into the walls because of all of the bugs that were inserted all across DC. Do people really understand the security issues that's coming out of this? You can't just all of a sudden destroy half of the White House. That's not how any of this works. It's not, and here's the thing, it's not safe for the president. It's not safe for anybody who works in his administration and who does business or who works every day in the White House. Like, there's a huge safety issue here. So we could talk about the aesthetics. It's ugly, but the security issues. Like, who thought that this was a good idea?
Easy. One person who believes I can do whatever I want. I love this video here from The Daily Show. I think this pretty much sums it up. They took, of course, the theme song from the television show The West Wing and called it the East Wing. Listen.
On this season of the East Wing.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it.
Well, we know that was a lie, but that's what Donald Trump does, Larry. He lies, and lies. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries actually also addressed the issue as well. Watch this.
The Republican health care crisis grows worse by the day, and yet Republicans remain on vacation for the fourth consecutive week. Donald Trump is once again preparing to fly out of the country. The East Wing of the White House is being demolished so that Donald Trump can construct a ballroom where he will be celebrated like a king. And at the same time, Trump is trying to rob taxpayers of $230 million to continue to line his pockets.
Now the New York Times there is reporting that they may even do a deal for all people who give big money. They're going to etch their names on the side of the wall.
Yeah, so a couple things, Roland. Yeah, this is going to be like the Amazon White House experience, right? So it's super bizarre because I thought this was, when I first saw the video, I thought it was fake because I'm like, this makes no sense. But of course it's not. It's like a bad episode of The Simpsons or South Park or something. The other thing, Roland, is I think the point we're missing here in terms of this demolition and creating this ballroom is he doesn't plan on leaving. I don't think people understand this, right? He's recreating Mar-a-Lago because he plans on being here for several more years.
Oh yeah, that ugly ass patio. He just paid over the Rose Garden for that ugly ass patio. Yeah, somebody said this here. They said, one person said that I will vote for the candidate as it says at 28. My first action to bring a demolition to that ballroom and the patio. I'm with him. Go ahead, Larry.
Roland, he plans on being there. Authoritarianism, this is how it works. People need to start reading up on authoritarianism. But yeah, and listen, if this was Barack Obama, they would say it was ghetto. It makes no sense. It's an abomination. And like I said, I lived in D.C. for a number of years, worked on the Hill, been in the White House a number of times. I never imagined we would see something like this.
I did.
But I think also people, well, yeah.
No, I mean, the moment the Supreme Court said, oh, you do whatever you want, he went, oh, hell yeah. They have given me permission to judge. He said, I can do whatever I want. I am above the law. That's why I was like, yeah, y'all gonna give my $230 million. Oh yeah, give me that $400 million plane. We're gonna retrofit it. Then y'all gonna give it to me, to my library when I leave. Bro, come on, man.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's super tacky and embarrassing, but this is what a lot of folks in America vote for. They voted for this. And like I said, they have Amazon or some other company's name, plastered somewhere on a plaque on a White House or on the side of the building instead of having health care. But this is where we are in America. And like I said, it's tacky, but you shouldn't expect anything less.
Niambi, I said this before, I say it again. If I'm a Democrat running and I win, I ain't asking permission for shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Peter Ducey with Fox News to run, you ain't say a damn thing about your boy. Shut your ass up. When Sean Hannity start running, White House press secretary should say, Sean Hannity, kiss my ass. Laura Ingraham, kiss my ass. Fox News, all y'all can kiss my ass. That's literally, I'm telling you, I want the most gangster Democratic press secretary. I ain't even calling on Fox News for the first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I think, to what everyone said, I mean, even thinking about this building as something that should be changed, right? Because you think about all the iconography of the White House it's the seal, it's everywhere. And that's not going to be what it is anymore. I don't even think, to Larry's point, like this will be done before he leaves office, because you can guarantee that it is probably quite likely that Donald Trump or someone that is associated with Donald Trump is making money off of this construction.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so there is no rush to finish this, especially if he sees himself as just sort of being permanently installed here. This is an unnecessary building project. And the fact that you would do it at a time when you have federal workers who are furloughed and federal workers who have been riffed and others who, are required to work and not be paid, like air traffic controllers and others. It is extraordinarily cruel to do this while people are staring down the barrel of no SNAP benefits, no EBT benefits, right? Like all of this is happening at the same time that we can find billions of dollars to send to Argentina to make room for white South Africans to, build this, along with buy 2 jets for Kristi Noem and her outfit. And you can't figure out how to make sure that people get paid, how to make sure that Americans are employed. If people aren't alarmed, not just by the historical and the security aspects, which are very legitimate, just the optics of such opulence being created while people are literally not knowing where they're going to get their next meal or how they're going to provide for their families. If that doesn't make anybody upset, I don't know what will.
Oh, yeah. This is what they're doing. And so this is how the thugs roll. All right.
Roland.
Yeah.
Roland, it occurred to me, it's an old building, and Trump probably got tired of Black folks saying we built that house since enslaved and free Blacks built it. But what about asbestos? It probably has asbestos, and they're not doing any type of remediation. It's about to be a bunch of sick people.
They don't care. He don't give a damn. He don't give a damn. He's doing whatever he want to do. He don't give a damn. His whole deal is, I don't care. Y'all can't stop me. And the Republicans, them punk asses, they ain't saying nothing either.
So you have a bunch of people who's going to end up suing the federal government because they got sick because of this.
He don't care. He don't give a damn. He's like, whatever. Whatever. That's how these thugs roll. All right, y'all, going to a break. I'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
As a pastor, I hear a lot about trips to the doctor, bills piling up, jobs being lost. So as your delegate, I went to work writing laws that protect families, helping parents care for their disabled children, capping insulin costs, lowering prescription prices, and investing in our police and schools. I'm Josh Cole, and as your delegate, I'm working to keep us strong and safe.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency.
We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be good.
For the life of me, I don't understand decisions that a lot of these people are making today when we talk about diversity and things along those lines. So Rebecca Aguilar, who is the former president of the Society of Professional Journalists, she posted this a few days ago on her LinkedIn page that struck me as odd. She says, is the Society of Professional Journalists following the Trump agenda by wiping out diversity efforts? After more than 15 years, the Dory J. Maynard Diversity Leadership Program has been canceled. It was a decision made by Emily Block, the outgoing president. The program was named after Dory J. Maynard after she passed away in 2015. I knew Dory very, very well, folks. She was a well-known journalist who committed her time to advocate for diversity in newsrooms and SPJ. She was one of my mentors in the program in 2010. Her dad also, Robert Maynard, was the publisher of the Oakland Tribune. The leadership program gave journalists of different backgrounds, race, religion, LGBTQ, disabilities, the experience of a national conference, MediaFest 25, and mentors. The outgoing president also never staffed the diversity committee, putting an end to it too. We all know the importance of these SPJ programs. They make an impact. I chaired, let's see here, I'm gonna pull up the next one. I chaired, let's see here, hold on, chaired the program, They Make an Impact. I chaired the committee and organized leadership program for more than 5 years. When I was SPJ's national president, I made sure everyone felt included. I knew the organization was changing when it elected me, the first Latina and woman of color, to lead the organization in 112 years. But since then, it has lost more than 2,000 members, according to insiders. My hope is the new president, Chris Vaccaro, will reevaluate the decision and bring back the committee and leadership program. I'm sharing photos of past fellows who have gone on to do great things in journalism and other careers. I made sure we even had the program during the pandemic, during the SPJ conference was online. And no, money was not an issue to keep this program. It was funded by the SPJ Foundation that currently has at least $16 million in the bank. Okay, that's what she actually wrote there. And she added, you all know I fight for all journalists and help you get jobs, but diversity matters too. Please repost. Info is power. Also, if you were at MediaFest 25 this week, find the incoming leaders and ask why and where they stand on diversity. This is the thing that we're seeing right here, Niambi, and we're seeing this in journalism. We're seeing it in academia. We're seeing it in business. Donald Trump, again, I predicted all this in White Fear. What you're seeing is you are seeing white folks showing their true colors. The people who actually believed in these issues, they're like, all right, so y'all tripping on names? We can change the names, but the mission ain't changing. But it's a lot of people who never really believed in these programs who are like, oh, good, we ain't got to do that bullshit now. We straight. We can go do whatever the hell we want to do. That is what we're seeing, Niambi.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there are a lot of people who Donald Trump gave them the permission, right? He gave them the opening so they could do the things that they wanted to do, like roll back these efforts without appearing to be racist or homophobic or misogynistic or whatever they might be, right? And so there are a lot of people who have capitulated very quickly because, as you rightly point out, they never wanted to do this in the first place. They view it as a burden. They don't really believe in the value-added proposition of more diversity, even though by every metric, it makes organizations and professions better, more innovative, and it makes people happier, right? Like people generally feel better when more voices are at the table. Yet there are people who felt like, hey, I don't need to do any of this. I understand what the issues are. You can hear people throw around terms like ideological diversity because they don't think diversity means that in a broad sense, it only means race or it only means gender, because they don't care about any of that. That's the stuff they don't want to do, right? They don't want to do racial equity work. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to be made uncomfortable. And they certainly don't want to have anybody challenge their power or bring more people into those institutions that are going to call them to the mat on their BS. And we know how these professional organizations can operate, just like academia and other places. They can be very cloistered. The leadership can be very short-sighted and white-focused, quite frankly. And so they wanted to do this anyway. Trump gave them the opening. They can do it without seeming racist. They're just going to, comply a priori with no sort of implication.
Yep. I mean, you just said the permission. So check this out, Niambi. Go to my iPad. Look at it. Gannett will stop publishing diversity information, citing Trump's executive order. The company also removed mention of diversity from its corporate site. I'm sorry, Rebecca, Trump's executive order does not compel a publicly traded company to do this. Now, mind you, Gannett's America's largest newspaper chain. And this what makes this even more despicable. Al Newharth, founder of USA Today, he was the CEO of Gannett. He was the one who changed the industry when he said, we're going to be we're going to be the most diverse media company in the country. He said, I am going to tie your promotions and bonuses to diversity. And if you don't like it, you can leave the company. And by that action, he forced Gannett to change. And every other media company had to keep up because they were losing minority talent. And so I don't understand what SPJ is doing. And so the new president, and I'm vice president digital for the National Association of Black Journalists, trust me, he's going to be hearing from me because this is idiotic. That why would you get rid of a leadership program that has been effective? And shame on Emily Block, who was the president, for making this decision. Oh, and the new president, he was a vice president at the time. So I wonder if he said anything. He's the president now, so now it's on him. Rebecca?
Sounds like they're committed to blandness and they're committed to mediocrity. That's what I hear out of that statement. You, I almost want to say it really burns me that people think that people of color, especially Black people, don't bring something to the table, that we aren't smart, we aren't brilliant, we don't over-index and overperform. Like, quite frankly, to have us on your team, you're getting great value and you're getting a hell of a ROI. So to hear them walk back and say this, it's like, have you ever been in a fight? Have you ever learned how to take a punch? So what? The president put out an EO. So what? You don't want to get attacked? Well, guess what? He's going to attack everybody. So at this point, stand with everybody else who, like, you can't punch all of us at the same time. So, okay, good luck with that. I mean, really, tell this president to go to hell at the end of the day.
This is the moment where we see who is for real, who are real allies, Larry, and who were performative.
Yeah, I want to go to Rebecca's point. You know, some people have never been punched in the face before, and you see it, right? They get a jab and they're ready to give up. The reason why that is, Roland, that these spaces, I know, and I noticed some higher education, the ivory tower, they're not built for us. We're not supposed to be there. And there are even these very moderate or liberal, individuals who don't want us there, and they may vote. They might consider themselves to be progressive. This is all centered in white supremacy, and that's just the bottom line. They don't want to see us there. They certainly don't want to see us accomplish more than they have, because it forces people to think about their identity and their place in the world. And this is a story that's been written in this country for centuries since our first enslaved Africans arrived here, our ancestors. But this is rooted in white supremacy. That's the bottom line. They don't want to fight because they didn't want us there in the first place, Roland.
Oh, no, they didn't want us in the first place. SPJ, y'all be hearing from me, and NABJ. Trust me, you will. Folks, Arizona Attorney General is suing House Speaker Mike Johnson, demanding that he swear in a duly elected member of Congress. She won her late father's seat in landslide nearly a month ago. Now, Johnson's been holding up Grijalva's swearing in until Senate Democrats agreed to end the government shutdown. Now, mind y'all do know that he did this twice for Republicans, and he just keeps saying that, I'm not doing anything. Now he's saying that now Attorney General, Arizona Attorney General Chris May says there's no legal reason to block her. Again, she's Arizona's first Latina elected to Congress. She says, I'm ready to go to work.
Today is day 28 since my election. And I think that it's really important that we appreciate that 812,000 Arizonans do not have representation in Congress. My dad passed away a little over 7 months ago in March. And since that time, the offices were able to provide constituent services. It was the People's Office of Arizona CD7. On September 23rd, those services ended. And so I do not have access to provide services in district. And I think that I also don't have a budget. So this coming back and forth, is on my miles that I had stored up because I don't have a budget. I'm not able to open a lease in district. And I think that, the efforts that have been provided to me, and I'm appreciative of the administration's effort, the departments in the administration, they're trying to provide piecemeal solutions to some of the problems that we have. But respectfully, there's so much that cannot be done until I am sworn in.
Well, Johnson says, you can do the work.
There's nothing to see here. And I told Rep. Grijalva, in the press conference, I explained, and I told Hakeem, she needs to get to work. She needs to stop doing TikTok videos and serve her constituents. The only thing that she hasn't done is taken the oath and will administer it as soon as possible. But in the meantime, she should be taking her constituent calls. She should have her 16 employees that she's already hired in here working, like all my staff's working, to handle the crisis that has been created by the Democrats. Her constituents have serious challenges and problems right now. She can be directing them to the right offices. And if it's something outside of her scope, she can send it to her 2 senators, because they apparently have a lot of idle time right now because they're doing TikTok videos themselves out in front of my office for publicity stunts. So the whole thing is ridiculous.
I'm confused, Rebecca. How can you do the job if you're not sworn in to do the job? I've never heard where the candidate-elect can actually start doing the job, but they haven't been sworn in yet.
She doesn't even have her congressional pin. She can't even go to the floor of the House.
Yeah, when she comes to the House, she has to go through the visitor line.
Yes. Yes. So you're really trying to tell me that she can hire 16 staffers on what budget? You cannot do that unless you're sworn in and then officially you get your budget. So he's making stuff up. At this point, they should just say, what did the press secretary say last week? Your mama. You know what? Just reply to him like, you know what, Speaker Johnson, your mama. Like, what is he talking about? And here's the thing. He's such a bad liar. If you're going to lie, get up and lie every day, at least be good at it. He's not even good at it. It's quite frankly, it's ridiculous. And he's lucky that they're not standing, not just outside of his office, but they're not sitting outside of his house. That they're not, in fact, the entire delegation need to go down to Shreveport. I know you talked about this, Roland, how they went to New Orleans. They should go to Shreveport instead. And they should just hold a daily press conference and talk about the Epstein files and talk about the insurance premiums that are going up because of Speaker Johnson. Make him deal with this local press.
And that's all this is, Niambi. He does not want her sworn in because that's the 218th discharge vote on the Epstein files.
Absolutely. And he's going to kick this can as far down the road as he can. But what Rebecca said was really important here. I mean, he doesn't even have to lie, right? Like, just say, I don't want to, because that's their answer to everything else that's happening in this administration. I don't want to.
I mean, he was on ABC, the Pelosi precedent, it was this. I mean, that boy hopping all over the place.
And there's no need to lie. This has been an administration that has said, we will flout every authority. We don't care about custom. We don't care about norms. We don't care about doing our jobs. We said no. And so, Mike Johnson sitting there saying she can do this work, which I believe would probably be illegal at this point without being sworn in, is nuts. But he knows that. I think the fact that he even cares to lie at this point tells us something, that he doesn't have the strength of his own convictions. He doesn't believe in anything probably besides the fact that he wants to try to keep his own job, and nobody there seems to like him very much in the House. But this is not about TikTok videos or any of this other stuff. It's about him not leading and not doing his job as Speaker of the House.
They don't want to deal with Epstein. That's all this is. And I love this, Larry. He's like, well, the other ones, they flew the family members in. And they're like, so you're saying she fly her family members in, you're going to do it? Well, no, dude, just, stop trying to just sit in here. Just simply say, ain't going to happen.
Right.
Listen, just keep it 100. And I'll be hit on it. I mean, they're pretty much usually telling you, we're just not going to do it. Listen, Roland, the Congresswoman-elect can't even open a bank account with the Congressional Credit Union or to take out a loan to pay her staff, So this idea that somehow she could do the work and she's, these 16 staffers, as a former congressional staffer and looked at many budgets, listen, you get elected, you get a lot of the budget and you hire your people. You get a key, etc. She can't do any of that. He knows that this game he's playing as Speaker of the House is really beneath beneath what we've seen in the past in terms of Pelosi and other strong speakers of the House who would, if there's an issue, they would speak to you directly. But he's weaseling around the issue instead of just being straightforward. And look, we talked about the Epstein file.
That's because he's a weasel.
That's a
weasel's weasel.
I mean, every time I see him, it's like, he reminds me, of some guy you see, walk out your house, hiding behind a bush somewhere. You cannot trust him. And he's not serving not only her constituents, he's not serving, his own constituents and his constituents of the other 434 members of Congress who should be back voting on substantive issues in terms of the appropriations process. But that's a whole nother issue relating to, a CR. But he needs to be honest and stop lying and pretending and making up every other excuse under the sun he can think about. You're the Speaker of the House. It is beneath that position to squirm and make up all kinds of excuses.
This is called the protection of pedophiles. At the end of the day, Listen, if you keep saying there's nothing in the files, you don't fight this hard for them not to get released. I mean, this a lot of fighting, Rebecca, like a whole lot, like a lot.
I mean, you have a prince across the pond who's losing his titles because of the Epstein files, but you don't really say that there's nothing in those files. Come on now. Come on. Or even seeing that a former Israeli prime minister was in those files. Come on. Like, we know. we know what's going on. And at the end of the day, the files are going to come out. And that's the thing. They are going to come out. So now Mike Johnson is now going to be known as the keeper of the pedophile files, that he supported protecting those files from being released. That's the thing. I'm just like, what is his end goal? He thinks that Congress isn't going to be in session until the midterm elections. Like, does he really think that this is going to continue for the next 14 months? It's not. Those 218 those 218 signatures are going to happen for the discharge to happen. So what's the end goal? Like, he's just going to fight this for like 2 more weeks? Like, come on.
Yeah, I know. Listen, if they vote on the budget, he gonna find some other excuse, Niambe, to not. I'm just gonna keep y'all on. I mean, they have been on vacation 73 of the last 85 days.
Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, they have dug in their heels. He has his marching orders. Those files are not to come out, and he is going to do everything he can. I agree with Rebecca. They're going to come out eventually, but they are going to do everything they can in the meantime to prevent that from happening. That means hurting the American people. That means, ruining his credibility and everybody else's in his party to do it. I mean, this is the same party that, remember, a few years ago was running with the story that Hillary Clinton and John Podesta were running a ring of pedophiles. And here we are. Our president has pictures with an actual convicted pedophile and his handler and their victims.
And some birthday drawings.
And some birthday drawings and everything else. And you're talking about there's nothing to see here. So I agree with you, Roland. This is a case of thou doth protest too much. And this was also what they campaigned on, right?
Yep.
Complete transparency. We're going to let you see them. And even their own voters are, when you have Marjorie Taylor Greene and others saying, well, what's happening here? That should put us all at some dis-ease.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Federal judge extended the block of the Trump administration's deployment of hundreds of National Guard troops into Chicago and across Illinois. The Justice Department told U.S. District Judge April Perry it agreed to the extension to facilitate the Supreme Court's review of the administration's appeal seeking to overturn the block. The decision stems from a lawsuit filed by the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois challenging the president's authority to deploy troops within the state. The Supreme Court could rule on the administration's request at any time. Judge Perry cautioned under federal rules she could extend the temporary restraining order only once. That means the court must soon decide whether to proceed with a preliminary injunction hearing, conduct a trial on the merits of the lawsuit, or convert the temporary restraining order into a preliminary injunction without a hearing. Don't be surprised if they'll just give Trump whatever he wants. Oh, remember that white guy, the racist? Donald Trump's picked to lead a key federal watchdog agency. Well, his punk ass resigned. That's right. Paul Ingratiates has withdrawn his nomination to head the Office of Special Counsel after Politico revealed a series of racist text messages he sent to fellow Republicans. A 30-year lawyer was facing backlash from Senate Democrats and Republicans, forcing him to drop out just one day before his confirmation hearing. Messages linked to Ingratiates included racist slurs, praise for Nazis, and denigration of black holidays like MLK Day, Juneteenth, and Kwanzaa. Senate Majority Leader John Thune and at least 3 other GOP senators said, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. Now, it must be something, Larry, when the Republicans say, shit, even he too racist for us.
Yeah, a bridge too far on white supremacy. I never thought I would see the day, but here we are, Roland. You're right. It's always interesting to hear Thune and some of the other Republicans say, well, you went too far. This is too racist.
They like, damn.
So, right. When the racists say you're a racist, that's really, how bad it is. But he still works. He's still got a job, Roland. We should still know he's still a federal employee.
Yep.
He hasn't been fired from that job.
Oh, no, because Trump
reflection of the GOP.
don't mind racists. Oh,
What's that?
Trump don't mind racists. He got Stephen Miller sitting right next to him.
Yeah, well, yeah, Stephen Miller among dozens of others working at the White House. But like I said, this is a bridge too far on the racism. But he won't be the last individual we'll see text messages or other videos, etc., who said racist things. I think this is eventually we'll saw what JD Vance is saying from the other text messages. Hey, it's not that bad. It's just locker room talk. So I think while he's a sacrificial lamb, we'll unfortunately see a bunch of other crazy fools come through and get confirmed who've made the same kind of comments.
Anybody shocked by this? One of the January 6th terrorists pardoned by Donald Trump, the twice impeached criminally convicted felon in chief, has been arrested for threatening to kill Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. 34-year-old Christopher Monahan from Clinton, New York, charged with a felony count of making a terroristic threat. He's currently being held at the Dutchess County Justice and Transition Center in Poughkeepsie, New York. A judge set his cash bail at $10,000, his bond at $30,000, or a partially secured bond of $80,000. He's back in court on Thursday. Jeffrey released a statement regarding his arrest, saying, "I'm grateful to state and federal law enforcement for the swift and decisive action to apprehend a dangerous individual who made a credible death threat against me with every intention to carry it out." The person arrested, along with thousands of violent felons who stormed the U.S. Capitol during the January 6th attack, were pardoned by Donald Trump on the president's very first day in office. Since the blanket pardon that occurred earlier this year, many of the criminals released have committed additional crimes throughout the country. Unfortunately, our brave men and women in law enforcement are being forced to spend their time keeping our communities safe from these violent individuals who should never have been pardoned. It is the honor of my life to serve in Congress during these challenging times. Threats of violence will not stop us from showing up, standing up, and speaking up for the American people. Tuesday, reporter asked House Speaker Mike Johnson about the arrest of the January 6th terrorists. While Johnson condemned the threat against Jeffries, he said violence is more prevalent on the left than the right. Wow, that's your answer, Mike?
Who have been rearrested on various charges. Did President Trump make a mistake by just offering up a blanket pardon for every single person that was convicted as a result?
I don't know any of the details of this at all. I don't know who's been alleged to have been involved in this. I will say that anybody who threatens political violence against elected officials or anyone else should be have the full weight and measure of the Department of Justice on their head. I trust that that'll happen. I hope it will. We are intellectually consistent about that, obviously. I will tell you this. The violence on the left is far more prevalent than the violence on the right. Don't make me go through the list. You all know it. All of these assassinations,
Here we go. All right. That pivot. That was a quick pivot there, Deambe's like, can you stay on topic? And then we're being intellectually consistent. There is nothing intellectual consistent, Deambe, about these fools when it comes to violence. They let Trump pardon these people, and they said nothing.
Well, and not only that, I mean, the racist violence, as you said, I mean, we got to remember the Unite the Right rally where there were good people on both sides. The guy who went into, the pizza shop here in D.C. With a weapon prepared to free children from the pedophile ring. I mean, and it is not even about keeping score about who on the right or the left, but they don't ever want to just say, it was wrong. This shouldn't have happened. And, this is one of those things that might happen when you release violent people into the public en masse, right? We're talking about 1,600 people that there was a blanket pardon given to, who were there swinging flagpoles, who'd hit police officers, who'd bear sprayed law enforcement officials at the Capitol that day, who were threatening members of Congress on that day, who threatened a sitting vice president on that day, who threatened a Speaker of the House on that day. And we said we thought it would be a good idea to release all those people in the public. And of course, they don't want to have that conversation. Because if nothing else, there are 1,600 more violent people on the street right now because of this administration, but they would rather score political points than just say, this is wrong, it shouldn't have happened, this is not okay.
Rebecca.
He said there was a list and we know all the names. Cool, then name the list. I want to hear the names. Since we all know, I want to hear all the names on the left. I'll wait. Name the names.
And it'll be a short wait. Larry?
Roland, real quick, is a reminder, a couple of years ago, then FBI director, testified that, white domestic terrorist violence was the #1 issue in this country.
Yep.
So there's that.
Yep. White people. White people. All right, last story here, y'all. Saturday, in cities across the country, nearly 7 million people gathered for the No Kings rally to protest the Trump administration. I saw this video in Alabama, which, of course, ranks #1 in child poverty. One rally speaker really just laid out these issues in Alabama and how they are impacted.
Use SNAP and WIC. That's almost 900,000 people. Alabama has a higher poverty rate than the national average. A third of Alabama counties are maternity care deserts. A third of Alabama counties don't have a pediatrician. Over 1 million people in Alabama rely on Medicaid. At least 300,000 people, maybe more, could gain access to health care if the state expanded Medicaid. That would also create and save jobs and ward off the closures of rural hospitals and healthcare services. But our state leaders continue to refuse to, and our national representatives vote to cut health care. 130,000 Alabamians could lose their health care coverage. You can't call yourself pro-life and refuse to expand Medicaid. You can't call yourself pro-life and cut health care. You can't call yourself pro-life and be against feeding children. You call yourself pro-life because you support forcing every baby to be born, yet you are against helping people who are alive. You can't say you're for small government and want the government in all of the uteruses. You can't say you're for small government and support the federal government taking over cities. You can't say you support states' rights and support other states invading states. You can't say you support free speech but want the government to punish people you disagree with for expressing theirs. You can't say you love freedom if you support taking other people's freedoms away. Good people do not look at what is going on and cheer it on. Good people do not cheer on the oppression of others. Good people do not stay silent as others are being oppressed. Good people know the difference between patriotism and nationalism. Good people don't see people who live differently, love differently, or think differently as the enemy. Good people do not demand obedience and call it freedom.
I have consistently said that white Democrats have to take people like him and travel across the state and look broke, white conservative people with jacked up health care and jacked up education in the eye and say, I'm talking to you. What say you, Rebecca?
You know what? I think it's good. The only thing that I would say about his remarks is he talked about healthcare, and he talked about specifically in Alabama, he called it a healthcare desert. I would just say, let's not call it a desert, because deserts occur naturally within nature, but it is healthcare apartheid because it is intentional, it is manufactured, and it's because of broken policy.
Larry?
Yeah, so, it was an important speech. He highlighted some data points that are critical. But Roland, the state of Alabama, white folks there have voted consistently Republican. And listen, the only way it gets addressed is that people like him and others that crowd have honest conversations with family members about how they're voting, or things will continue to get worse. I think overall, we know from research, the really problem is this white identity, is that as long as people feel secure in whiteness is a racial hierarchy at the top of the pyramid, then they're willing to suffer. And I think until we address this issue, that is a specific issue, Roland, that states like Alabama will continue to struggle.
Nyambe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, given the plethora of problems that Alabama has, I think Rebecca is exactly right. The problems in Alabama are created, and they can be eradicated through different kinds of political choices. But the problem, to what Larry said, is that everybody has to understand that none of us were made to live like this. You can't want it for some Alabamans and not expect it to happen to you. You can't want to take away health care and food benefits and clean water and all of those things and expect it just to hurt Black Alabamans or others. I think this is a prime case that people have made choices that left them all behind because they would rather be in the muck than to see anybody that is not white get ahead. And this is the trick that white supremacy plays on white people. It makes them think that they are going to be able to live better and to surpass Black folks if they just ignore them, but not realizing they are hurting their own selves. I mean, Jonathan Metzl showed us, and every other bit of data has showed us that white people are faring poorly as well, but they just don't see what this man is seeing right now. So I agree that more efforts have to be made to sort of undermine the white supremacist logic at work here.
Yep. Well, folks, that is it for us. So let me thank all three of y'all for being here. Niambi, Larry, and Rebecca. Thank you so very much. Folks, we're going to continue to do what we do, putting the pressure on what's happening. Also, talking about these issues that really are critically important to our people. We center African Americans here. That's why your support is critically important. And so, our target goal is to raise $1 million by the end of the year in order to fund new shows, new initiatives, lots more coverage stuff. And so your support is critical to that. And again, what are we asking? If each one of our, if 20,000 of our fans, just 20,000, y'all, we do about 30 to 30 million views a month. We've got 5 million social media followers. If 20,000 people total give $50 each a year, that's $1 million right there. And so if you want to do so via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it bottom left-hand corner. You see it right here. That's for credit cards as well. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Of course, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Be sure that if you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, that's our t-shirts, our hats, our mugs, all those things, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com. That's for our t-shirts. Now, if you want to get all these black-owned products to my left, you see all these products here. We got our chips, we got our hats, we got our relishes, we got our car wash items, we got, of course, toilet paper, we got puzzles, we got smocks, backpacks, all that stuff. Skincare products, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com for all of those products. You can also check all of that out. And so again, shopblackstarnetwork.com. And of course, be sure to download the app Fanbase, get that app. You can check it out, download the app, and then if you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. And shout out to Savannah State. I decided to rock their, of course, crew neck today. So shout out to Savannah State. So I'm looking for my I thought Wilberforce sent me a sweatshirt. I'm looking for it, so I'm trying to find it. I know Wilberforce sent me a t-shirt, but I thought they sent me a sweatshirt. So I'm looking for it. So again, shout out to Savannah State. All right, folks, I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.